Hi everyone and welcome to the Josh Ezekiel Podcast. In today's episode, I'm chatting with Tom about eco-schooling, what it is, how it works in early years settings, and why getting kids outdoors is so powerful for their development. We'll talk about everything from compost bins to climbing trees, neurodiversity, nature, and even mashed bananas. If you enjoy this episode, don't forget to tap that 5-star rating and leave a comment. It really helps more people find the show, and I love hearing your thoughts.
Earth World Day, World of Earth Day.
World of Earth Day.
World
Day, yeah.
Earth Day in the world. I've got Tom here.
Hello.
Hi, Tom.
Hello.
We are currently in early years education, and I want you to give me like a brief overview of who you are, what you've done, where you've been, and how you got here today, and a little bit about what eco-schooling is, which is the topic of today's chat. Go for it.
I started working in education when I was about 18, probably a bit before kind of volunteering with a kind of stay and play group that my mum worked for at the time. Come from a family of teachers.
In the blood.
Inherited, definitely. Although my dad's a geography teacher and I've inherited none of that, sadly. Started working in an assessment nursery at a special needs school back in Telford when I was about 18. Worked there for a long time. Worked in various kind of educational roles, mainstream, special needs, lots of different things really. Been in education for a long time, yeah. Worked in a lot of different roles, a lot of different places. Moved to London in 2017. Worked in kind of another special needs school in central London that was more kind of 11 to 16-year-olds, a lot of that kind of thing. Autism and dyslexia and ADHD. Took some time out and did a psychology degree, and then I was an outdoor learning lead at a nursery, so for about 3 years after that, had this great outdoor space with have like a big walk-in sand pit and these kind of amazing foliage around the side, and we did a lot with kind of developing the trees and things like that, and getting plants in that had different scents, and some you could eat, some that just smelt really good.
Edible plants.
Edible plants, yeah. Well, you know,
What plants are these?
herbs and things. Like these plants you can eat, they're called herbs and salads and things.
What would you grow that you can eat? What, they just pick it out the garden and...
Oh, we didn't tend to do that, but it was kind of herbs that we could use for cooking, things like that. And tried to grow some potatoes, slightly less out than we put in.
That's what you want, as long as there's growth there.
Yeah.
So you've been around special education more than what neurotypical, I'd put it, schools.
More than mainstream schools, I mean. Yeah.
Neurotypical.
Oh, you know, the terms change a lot, don't they?
Yeah.
Neurodiversity, and I'm never fully sure what the correct terms are, but it's, they can be, a special educational school where the children have additional needs.
Did you choose that, or were you just put onto that?
Well, I think I kind of fell into it. I was originally training. I wanted to be a carpenter. Wanted to do cabinet making, make musical instruments, and make furniture. So
That's a change.
I know, yeah. That's what I was doing originally. But that means I've got quite a good practical background, and I try to bring that into early years. In the last place, when I was working outdoors, I was building a lot of things in the garden, and getting the children involved in that, and building things when they were around, and then talking about saws and drills and different types of glue and how we use them safely and when we use them, and what do we do with the drill when we're not using it, put it into the safety position, that kind of thing. Talking about screws and nails and the difference, and they got pretty good at it. Just general DIY safety, I think, was really good, and they were really interested in that knowledge that if something's broken, you can fix it, because I think there's a lot of that knowledge that people don't have.
So you like making the next gen of carpenters and
trying to, or just that, and it's that eco-schooling thing. It's sustainability, and it's knowing that if something breaks, you can probably fix it pretty quickly, and it's cheaper and easier than getting a new one.
Today, I think we've put the topic as eco-schooling. Can you explain what eco-schooling is? I mean, from the sounds of it, you've done a lot of outdoor work. What is eco-schooling, and I guess how is it different to the mainstream to where you've been? What's the development you've got there? Let's just start off with what is eco-schooling first. Let's stick with one question at a Josh. Tom,
I know.
what is eco-schooling?
Eco-schooling.
Josh,
Eco-schooling is...
go.
Well, I'm still kind of working out what it is as well. It's quite broad, and I think it's something that's always been there, but it's taken had a big increase in recent years. It's slightly different. Other places I've done it, but here it's kind of been very around, well, looking at what can we do better? Where's our waste going? For a long time, we had food waste, collecting that was amazing. And all the food waste was being dealt with and composted. Other places I've worked, they've not done that, but I've implemented that. It's kind of coming in and saying, well, what can we do in a more sustainable way? And that sustainability is not just kind of in the sense of like resources. It's time and it's money. What can we look at procurement? How can we make sure that we're only buying things we really need? How can we look at things like, if we're buying loads of nurseries, buy lots of fruit. So when the fruit's coming into the kitchen, is it all individually packed? Can we look at getting like a cardboard crate of apples instead of a bunch of different bags? There's loads of little things you can just address across the nursery that make a difference to the kind of carbon footprint of the site.
Do you think it, especially in terms of food, if you're like buying crates of apples and bananas and things, is that something that is useful in nurseries because it's like, wouldn't they go off, or isn't there like a certain shelf life for like foods, like fruits and fruits?
The fruits and fruits. For fruits and fruits, there's a date, but you can. It's the same as if it's kind of packaged, and they plow through fruit.
Oh, they do. Their kids love the fruit, don't they?
Oh my God, yeah.
Mom.
What?
Okay, orange.
Oh, there was a little boy I used to work with when I was about 18. A little boy, he was 2 and he had Down syndrome. He was obsessed with mashed banana, and I just cannot go anywhere near it. Just the idea of mashing a banana and feeling
Nothing on top like honey or just solid.
Just
was it a fork?
Banana, go to town on it. He's like trying to get at you.
Did he eat it or
absolutely obsessed with it?
just loved mashed banana?
No, mashed banana, and I was, I don't know, it's just, well, banana's great, but yeah, just that the smashed up banana is really gross to me now.
It's got your throat. No mashed banana for life.
No mashed banana.
No mashed banana for your kids.
Because they get through it. It's just like looking at, say we're buying, I don't know, 100 apples a week or whatever it is. What's the most sustainable way of doing that? Because that'd be 25 bags, and that's 25 plastic, bags. So it's a pack of 4 that are all going in the bin and getting buried in a hole. Instead of that, can we get 2 crates of 50, and that's a cardboard crate, or we can recycle the cardboard crate, or send it back and reuse it, or say it comes in a plastic one, we can send that back to whatever shop you bought it from, and then it's reusable, and there's no waste left from that. So it's kind of looking at little things like that, and they're all over the place. There's so many little things that you can just address. That's what I mean by finding. I'm still kind of working out what eco-schooling is. I've been doing it for a few years now, but it is different everywhere, and it's all just taking a step back and trying to problem solve and identify problems and identify little areas that you can be better at, and then finding a solution that works for that. It's got to easily fit into people's routines, because you don't want to be the person who's coming in and saying, I know you've got this great routine that works for you, but you're not doing that anymore, you're doing this. You want it to come in and say, just be small adjustments to what people are doing that are sustainable and maintainable,
Just making an impact.
Yeah, trying to.
Reducing waste. It's electricity, it's gas, it's everything really, isn't it? It's not just in a sense.
It's everything, yeah.
It's making the world a better place.
Trying to.
Step by step.
I just tuck my cape out of the way.
Yeah. Not all heroes wear a cape.
No capes.
So I have a list of questions that I have produced that we're going to go through and have a lovely chat. So we're going to divide it into just general eco-schooling and outdoor play. We're then going to move on to neurodiversity and the outdoors. And then we're going to go on to the final section, which is empowering parents through nature-based education. Ooh. A question number 2. Why do you think that outdoor play and eco-schooling are vital for children in early years, which is, we're going to say 0 to 5? And then are there any changes that you notice in a child's behaviour or a mood when they're outside playing versus when they're inside playing?
Yeah, there's loads really. And it depends on the child. But I think outdoor learning is amazing for confidence. And there's a lot to do with managed risk outside. So getting children to climb.
risk assessment.
And yeah, well, in a way, getting them to take those little risks that are in a safe environment, like climbing, big gross movements like balancing, that kind of thing, using bikes. And there's a big open space where they can be free to build up that kind of vestibular system and proprioception. I think it's really important in terms of, confidence, kind of their sense of their proprioceptive self, with who they are in space, where they are, and that expands out to their influence on the planet. Like we were talking about today, we went litter picking today.
We did, and that drained me. I don't know what
I could see. You were like
about 20 pictures in. I was like, no, I am tired. I am ready for
You're
bed.
getting very dynamic with that camera, to be fair.
The pictures look great.
But yeah, we did that, and it's talking about, well, if we recycle something, it goes into the bin, and then it gets collected and goes to recycling centre, and then it's turned into something else. If we put it in the litter bin, it gets taken here and it gets buried in a hole, and that's bad because blah blah blah. And talking about their influence on the world and their wider kind of like So I think it's really important to know their sense of self in I'm not sure if I can explain this well, but in the
No, I get it,
more
because
space, but then also how that expands out.
Yeah, you were doing things like identifying what material things were made out of as well. So
Yeah.
is that plastic? When you look back when we were in school, there were none of that. There wasn't recycling bins, and I think learning from a young age, especially knowing the difference between maybe a metal or a plastic, I think that definitely will play a part when they grow up.
Yeah, and I think often we did this a while ago, talking to them about what things are made of. The bookcase next to us, while I was talking to them, was made out of wood. So we had a look at all the wood grain in the bookcase. And we were talking about, well, if you look at a tree, it has the grain, it grows that way. And if you look at the bookcase, you can see that. And if you look at the end of the bookcase, you can see the end of the grain and the rings in it. And I think in the way that people are, separate from their food, in the way you don't often associate chicken with a chicken and that kind of thing. I think associating wood with a tree and knowing the life cycle of things, I think it's good to have that knowledge. And then it comes back to repairing things. If you know that something's made out of wood, then that gives you ideas of how to fix it if it breaks. You need nails or screws or wood.
Yeah, never thought about it like that.
So I think that's the way I try to think about it. It's knowing everything in context. So I think outdoors is amazing for that, in a roundabout way. I've answered your question here. Also, something I've noticed is children who are maybe quite reserved inside can be completely different outside, can really bring children out of themselves in a way you don't often see. I've seen children who are quite quiet. Yeah, outside just really go for it and really kind of lead games, or say, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do this. Or maybe we've gone bug hunting and they're really confident, and some of the other children aren't quite so confident to hold a centipede or something. The other children are like gathering around and looking at their hand, and they've got that kind of connection that they maybe struggle to find in the classroom or in other situations. I know I found that. And my mum's a teacher, and she was head of early years, so she worked in a school in a little village out in Shropshire, where I'm from. There was a boy that she worked with who grew up on a farm, and in the classroom he was very timid, but then they went to a farm and he was saying, oh, I know this, we do this is what we do with the cows, and just completely came out of himself and had that confidence, that he was struggling to find elsewhere.
Well, that brings me on to question 3 then. What are some developmental benefits, emotionally, physically and socially, that you've seen in children who spend significant time learning outdoors? I guess it kind of ties on to what you've just said in a way. I mean, go for it. Because I was just thinking about earlier when we were doing the whole, and I'm like, I know what certain kids are like when they're indoors and when they're like when they're outdoors. And I do feel that it brings like a completely different side to kids when they're outside, because they're in a completely different environment. So it's nice to see that. But would you say, working in eco-schooling, that there's any kind of developmental benefits?
Absolutely. There's an opportunity for those big movements. And this is something I think a lot of early years struggle. Outdoor learning is something a lot of early years settings struggle with, because it's seen as a separate thing. The garden or the outdoor space, whatever it is, should be an extension of the classroom, not a separate space. And so any opportunity for learning that is in the classroom, so literacy, maths literacy, science, all that, should then also be repeated outside.
Yeah, and very much so.
So those big movements, practicing drawing big shapes on a chalkboard or on the floor, these big movements, you can practice. Children who are learning to write their name or learning their numbers, you do it really big and it builds up, and those movements get better and better, and they get better at control, and you can slowly narrow that down to, in the classroom, they become better at these fine movements. It's just a perfect space to really expand out, and you can do like letter formation with really big paint, and you can make a really big mess and just like clean it all up, and you don't have to worry so much. Or you can use natural materials you can find sticks and get them to write their names with that. So I think it's really good. It's really good, very underutilized resource for those just doing bigger, more like exaggerated versions of indoor learning that you can then transfer in.
I think it gives energy a chance to just get out your shell as well. Because I was
100%.
very outdoorsy, creative person. If you had me in a classroom, I wouldn't do that. There was nothing in maths that you would ever get me to sit down for in a classroom. I can't do it. But if you were to kind of translate that into an outside area and be like, we have 2 centipedes and here's 2 more, I'm like, oh yes, like it's 4. If I couldn't count by them probably, but
I think I was exactly the same.
yeah,
It's just sitting still. Probably a bit of the ADHD thing.
gotta love it.
They're my people. And some children it just works better for.
Yeah.
Doing that, sitting still, their focus is all going to sitting still.
Yep.
And not to what's in front of them. But so if they have the opportunity to just go "Wah," and paint big letters and do big movements, then that's amazing. That's really beneficial.
So question 4. I'm loving these. In what ways do you think that nature supports a child's mental health and emotional regulation? And I guess that we can talk about that in eco-schooling, in just being outdoors, or just in general. What are your thoughts?
Being in nature, there's all the benefits of just being outside of the sun. There's research into how contact with sand, soil, grass, that kind of thing has all the, these endorphin releasing kind of properties. There's the idea of, I think it's doctors in, Japan maybe, have been, for stress, prescribing forest bathing, where you just go and be in a forest to reduce stress. Just go be in nature and just be around nature. I think there's massive benefits to it, to stress levels, to focus, having that time to go out and do something big. When they come in, all that extraneous energy is a little bit more kind of exercised out, and able to, when you come in, you're a little bit more calm, a little bit more tired, you included.
Yeah.
Today after the litter picking, they came back and said, "Oh, we're tired. I'm being tired. I'm hungry.
My tummy's rumbling."
We had tea. We had lunch. We had the light dimmed a bit. And they were all kind of eating tea quite quietly and quite calmly, and it was all nice. They were chatting at a reasonable level, that kind of thing. That I think they're all a little bit more like, "Oh, okay, calm. We can have a relax." So I think there's all these benefits to it, and I think it's amazing for staff as well. It's you don't want to be in a stuffy classroom all day.
No.
Getting out and just doing something and being engaged, and again doing those big movements, whatever it is, is really beneficial.
I think, especially as well in early years, it's not as regimented as what primary or secondary school is, because you've got 10 till 11 maths, 11 till 12, or 12 till 1 lunch. Whereas I guess in the nursery, you've got things like your key children and this, and so there's a lot more that you've got to take into consideration there. But as a very groundy, spiritually, energy, I do love going out and even just laying on a field, you just soak the energy up. With your socks off though, you gotta have your socks off.
Oh yeah.
If you haven't got your socks off, you can't feel the ground.
What is it? Is it called grounding or something? I think it might just be called that.
Might just be called grounding.
It's not something I've ever experienced or tried, but feels like there's some credence to it in some way.
Very much.
Grounding yourself, and I've heard about people who have like pieces of metal in their shoes or something that have connection to the floor to get. I don't know. Everybody takes things to to a degree that's like, maybe there's something to it, maybe there's not.
Definitely.
But there's definitely something to putting your feet in some grass and just going, oh, yeah.
It's really nice. And you get the energy and the frequency. If you haven't tried grounding, go and try grounding.
Yes.
Find your local
Scientifically proven.
Take your shoes and socks off.
Reviewed.
Sit down on the floor.
Get in the mud.
Get the energy, vibrations, mud.
I think a lot of, particularly in London, cities, but particularly in London,
With no fields anywhere.
yeah, it's
so
so important to. And so many people I've worked with when I came here, so many people were like, just don't want to go outside and are so adverse to things like camping or to. I've worked with staff at different places who are just so averse to being outside, and you think, well, it's so beneficial for the children. They want to do it, just embrace it. And the staff member who hated it so much, I told her I was surprised how she got to work, or just always inside all the time. Or do you have some kind of tunnel system to get?
Some like that though. Some like to stay in the dark all day every day.
I don't get it. I just want to be moving, and we're sat on this big field, and as a kid, there's a bank here. All the kids want to do is just run up and down the bank, and roll about
on the hill bit.
Yeah, and
the follow
as well.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask a few questions on how neurodiversity in the outdoors kind of combine and intertwine with the energies. So how does outdoor play support children who experience anxiety or sensory overload or emotional dysregulation?
Well, it's really good for that emotional regulation. I worked at a school before that was in central London, and they were brilliant for their kind of management of what's the phrase I'm reading? Management of sensory kind of
like sensory managers.
Yes,
touching and feeling and things.
Sensory regulation. They were amazing for that. Really great school. Really, really good for that kind of thing. But their outdoor space was about 10 by 10 feet. It was a tiny little space. Might as well have not been there. No fault of theirs. But we were close to a big park, so we'd take them there, and that was amazing. But there was a lot of emphasis on those big kind of movements, like doing press-ups against the wall, doing animal walks. We'd say pick a fast animal and a slow animal. Go down the corridor as a fast animal and come back as a slow one.
Nice.
Lots of that emotional regulation. But then having taken that to places I've worked subsequently where you have an outdoor space, it just makes that even better, where there's that physical space to like expand out and to stretch out and do those animal walks, and then just have a bit of a lie down and do something like sleeping bunnies or just
sleeping bunnies. I don't even know the words that add to that one. I think
I refuse.
The hoppy sleeping. There's something that you do at the beginning
everywhere.
Roly poly, down, left, right, up and down, and then like they seem to know it more than I do. And as long as I kind of bunnies, hop, bunnies. That's all I'm doing, and
you just kind of going.
Or I ask Shirley to do it in Spanish. Español bunnies, because then I'm like, las bones. I was like, please get that language in there as well. But no, I do need to learn that one. But that's
But that kind of thing. I think
Sleepy Bunnies by Josh and Tom available now on iTunes and SoundCloud and Spotify.
We'll workshop it.
Yeah, we'll do. We'll do a new.
What was the rest of the question? Let's go back to it. I feel like when I answer a question, I just kind of veer slowly away.
How does outdoor play support kids who experience anxiety, sensory overload, and emotional dysregulation? Because they are grounded.
And
they're walking. We should take them out and take the socks off one day and get them to do some like meditation outside. See how that works with like an ADHD and an autism kid.
Know that.
Because I do feel that space, especially when you're neurodivergent, like you can feel very claustrophobic, and when you're having a bit of like I say tantrum very lightly. I don't like using that word.
Yeah.
But when you're very overly stimulated, you need to be in a bigger space so you can just breathe and instantly. I find that way go well. Yeah, staying in that nursery it's too much.
I think it's good to have that, and particularly on a day like today, it's calm out here, and there's a light breeze, and it smells nice, and all those little things just help to contribute to that feeling of calm. Everything around you, bar the helicopter, is calm in a way.
Helicopter, I am looking. It's not moved. It's just circled where we've been.
I know. Yeah,
I'm confused.
The footage is going to be good, but it is a bit noisy.
So when working with children who are neurodivergent, let's focus on ADHD or autism, or I guess from your experience, any other kind of diagnoses that you've had, how do you adapt outdoor learning and eco-schooling environments to meet their needs?
In a way, not a huge amount. I think the nursery I worked at previously, where I was outdoor, kind of lead of outdoor, it was a mainstream nursery, but we had a few children who had some needs. The activities I put out, I tried to make them accessible by everyone. The nursery was from 6 months up to 4.5 years. I tried to make the activities in some way accessible by everyone. Maybe there's some dinosaurs in the water tray, soapy water, we're cleaning them. You can get the younger babies playing with the water and having the sensory kind of exploration of that. Maybe playing with the dinosaurs. Maybe you could do a bit of role play with them. And then as you go up, you kind of add in more talking about the body parts of the dinosaur and then relating it to yourself. How do we keep ourselves clean?
Yeah.
And then you can expand to like hand washing in the classroom and kind of self-care and that kind of thing. And then you can expand out more. I did that once, and then they washed all the dinosaurs and then started getting other stuff, washing that. And then it started being this big collaborative thing where they set up this going back and forth between the mud kitchen, which was on the other side of the garden.
The mud kitchen.
Yeah. Two of them said, we'll go and get some pots and pans and bring them here, and then you'll wash them, and then we'll sort them out here. And I kind of was just watching it all happen, thinking, oh, this is brilliant. I'm going to claim this was all me. I get this. Yeah, so having activities that are accessible by everybody, age, level of kind of needs or not. I try to make things as accessible to everybody as possible, but I think maybe leaning more towards the sensory in some ways, working with children who have Down syndrome or Williams syndrome or something like that. Things are a little bit more sensory-based and a little bit more proprioception-based, so a lot more leaning towards balance and climbing and that kind of thing, which is a real focus for them, is a real benefit to working on.
Going back to the whole having a bit of a sensory overload by completely changing the activity, like going into a mud area, it completely changes your mind focus. It changes you, I guess. So I get that. It's good. It's nice. But I think we're getting to a day and age where things like ADHD and autism are just part and parcel. It didn't used to be as much younger, but I do feel that it has, so it's nice to know that things are adapting. What challenges arise when supporting children with additional needs in outdoor settings, and how can educators respond in a supportive way? I feel like we've kind of covered that in the last question, but would you add anything else on there?
Something I found in working in early years settings with that outdoor focus is that staff really need to get on board with it, because the children already are.
Yeah,
I think staff really need to embrace it, and it almost needs to be they need to keep up with you. People are so averse to getting dirty, to picking up bugs, to mess, and I think you need to just embrace it and really push forward, because there's so many benefits to it. And so they want that parallel play where you're coming and just making something, they're getting all muddy and sandy and mixing in leaves and things to this mud, instead of kind of standing near them and saying, oh, what are you making? Yeah. Get down and go, I'm going to make pancakes, and just start getting it. That's much more. I think if you say, I found it where there's staff who don't really know what to do, and you say, well, whoever over there is they're making a cake, why don't you go and get involved? And they'll say, well, what are you doing, Joey, or whoever? Joey, I don't know.
What are you doing?
I don't think I've worked with a Joey. Anyway, perfect fake name to come up with then. They kind of go, oh, tentatively a bit like, oh, what are you making? But yeah, really should just go and just be involved, and then use that as a way to expand on what they're doing. Yeah. Someone's making a cake, say, well, what can we use as candles? And then
so being creative as well.
Yeah,
being very creative,
for doing it with them rather than saying, you try this. Kind of, I'm not sure quite how to word it, but just go in and or play with them. Parallel play, I think, is amazing. Yeah, rather than say
isolate.
The bane of my life is, what are you making? Yeah, I hate that, because that's taking them out of it, and it's not really adding anything. They have to go, oh, I'm doing this, and if they want to tell you, they'll tell you. Get in and just parallel play and use that as a way to expand on what they're doing. So, well, what could we use as the oven? and have a look around, and maybe there's a shelf somewhere. You could use that and you put something in front of it.
We could build one with your wooden skills that you're probably teaching.
And I'll do it again.
Build them.
Try to stop me.
Build them with the wooden spoons.
Building with the wooden spoon. Just having things like wooden spoons and things. What was the question again?
I think that question and the second question were basically, part and parcel together. There is the final bit that we're going to move on to, which is so empowering parents through nature-based education. We've got 8 questions here. We're going to finish off with 8 lovely questions about how you as a parent, or how you as an educator, or how you as a helicopter driver, or just how you as fun people can figure out what you can do through nature-based education. So, question 1, Tom. What do you think parents need to know about the emotional and psychological benefits of outdoor play? I've put especially in early years because that's where we are at the moment, but if you want to expand on that in terms of the age groups that you've worked with. So, what do you think parents need to know about the emotional and psychological benefits of outdoor play?
Hard to know. To answer that, there's just that there are a lot. There's a lot of stress reduction and that kind of thing, concentration and focus. Confidence, again, it's a massive thing for confidence and interest in the world. It's amazing for opportunity to have conversation. There was a little boy I worked with. He was about 2. Every day when he came through the school gates, I was getting the garden ready. He was immediately just chatting to everybody and saying, "We saw a digger on the way," and blah, 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 blah. And I remember saying to his dad, it's so clear that he's been out and about doing stuff, and you've talked to him, and that not only that, he's talked to you and you've listened to him. It was so clear. And apparently he was born through lockdown, and they were just walking around with him through the park, talking to him, and every time he said anything, they were just listening to him and saying, yeah, and having those conversations. So I think being out and about and talking about things, just engaging with what's around you, whether it be in your garden, if you're on your balcony, or if you're in the flat, look out the window, or if you're walking to nursery, talk about what you're going past on the way. If there's a little cut through some trees like there, go through the trees. There's just the confidence he had, and he knew that everyone was going to listen to him when he talked, and it was amazing.
Have you had parents who were initially hesitant about outdoor learning, and what helped shift their perspective?
Parents no, staff yes, regularly. Yeah. Parents I think are on board, or maybe I've not had the conversations with them where they are so averse to it, but you're engaging with staff more, and I think a lot of them are just like they don't bring in the clothes for it. Had somebody stood outside freezing not long ago, and I said, go and put your coat on because you're cold. Yeah. She said, no, I don't want to get chalk on it. But the kids were playing with chalk. She said, oh, they'll come over and they'll get chalk on my coat. Well, why are you wearing this coat to nursery if you don't want to get chalk on it? But also, it's a bit of chalk, just wipe it off. It's that kind of thing where, again, getting staff to really embrace it. And I think there's probably some parents who are the same, who don't quite relish like the outdoors in the same way. I think...
How did you shift that perspective?
How did I shift it? Just by really trying to get them involved. There was somebody I was...
Come and do some mud walking.
Pretty much, yeah. There was somebody, there was these trees at this place I used to work that were about a metre apart from each other, and they went all the way around. And in the summer, you'd get these big spider webs. They had these big old like garden spiders in the centre. The kids were fascinated by them, so I'd try and get staff members who hated spiders to come and be part of the conversation. And the kids just had so many questions about them. They wanted to know like where they came from, what they were doing, why they were there. Like a web would appear overnight, so they made them really quickly. And we were sat looking at the spider that was eating a fly, and we were talking about it. And while we were talking, a bee flew into the web, and the spider quickly ran over, grabbed it, wrapped it up. And the staff member I was with who hated spiders was really like, oh, and all the kids were a bit taken aback by it. So I was like, oh, brilliant. Yeah. And they all had questions like, well, what's going to happen to the bee? Will the bee get out? It may sound a bit harsh. I was like, no, the bee's going to stay there and the spider's going to eat it. But it's important to know these things, and it was a really exciting thing to watch. And I think trying to get people excited by it and trying to get them like, I think nature's amazing. I think it's beautiful, and I love being out and trying to instill that in people, trying to get that enthusiasm across. It's hard to do, but I think just by being enthusiastic and and doing lots of things in the moment like that is really beneficial.
Well, then that moves me on to number 3, which is, what advice would you give parents who don't have easy access for green spaces or feel they don't have the time or energy for outdoor play?
Time or energy. I mean, you can do a lot with planting things inside. Say the kids have like an apple, plant the seeds from the apple. It takes you 5 minutes, and then you can check in on the seeds, and you'll see them grow, and then you can put them in a different pot. It's very low effort. I think access to green spaces, there's always something nearby. If you're walking to nursery, you're going to be walking, even if you're like walking down little back streets, you're going to see things in people's gardens. You're going to see insects about. You're going to see even cats and things like that. It'll just exploring. You're going to be out and about at least some point.
Or even walking home.
Yeah. We did it today.
Actively.
So the litter picking, one of them said, I hope we see a cat. So I said, well, let's look out for cats. What else are we going to look out for? So we looked out for dogs. We looked out for birds. We looked out for butterflies and things like that. And we were counting how many we saw. So there's always nature about, and just saying, let's see how many we can see. What are they doing? Or where might we want to look for butterflies? Where might they be? So we're looking around for bushes or for flowers. And on your journey, and it's a conversation point. It's amazing for them to have these really lovely conversations with parents or with family members, and to show that you're really interested in what they're really interested in, and you're giving them little questions like where could we find that.
So I guess it's not even about parents kind of saying, well, I need a garden for this, or I won't be able to do elements of eco-schooling or outdoor play, but it's about applying kind of nature kind of games, I guess, in a sense. Like even on your way to school, which I didn't think about that, you can always be walking up on the bus stop and being like, oh, can we find a big rock or a red cat? Or whereas some parents might be like, I don't have a garden, I live in a flat 4 stories high, so therefore I can't do it, and all I can do is plant the seed. And I guess it doesn't even cost a lot of money either, walking to school.
Really, yeah. So I think just engaging with your outdoors, and I think if people find it hard to then like to know what to look for, I think having that little bit of interest in it yourself, it's really interesting when you start looking into it. There's a little girl I work with called Polly, and she had a pear for the snack, and she planted the seed. She wanted to plant the seeds, so we had Polly's pears written on this little pot. And she wanted to check it every day. It's going to take a little while, probably, but she was really excited. And then it started growing. We put it in a bigger pot, and it took like 3 minutes to plant it, and then we check it. It was 10 seconds every few days. It grew this little plant. I think she took it home in the end, so I'm not sure the fate of it. Hopefully it's still going.
Still alive.
It was a few years ago now.
But like watercress, isn't it? You do the watercress at school, and you put it in like the plastic containers, and you see the roots. I remember that. So if I remember that, guys, the moral of the story is do eco-schooling.
Do eco-schooling.
Ground yourself.
It's easy.
Take your socks off. Take your shoes off. Go for a walk.
I think it could be seen as this big, like, I don't know how to. I've heard a lot of people say, I don't know how to. I'm bad with plants. I don't know how to do it. It's really trial and error, and a lot of it is just put it in the soil, give it a poke if it's dry, a little bit of water on it, and leave it on the windowsill in the kitchen or something,
and see what happens.
Yeah, I live in a forest. There's just plants everywhere. Me and my girlfriend have like.
So you're sorted then?
Oh yeah, we're terrible. When we moved in together, it was dangerous. To like get through stuff like that with a machete just to get to the sea.
The house is a forest.
Yeah,
the house is a forest.
Yeah, pretty sure there's some like monkeys in there somewhere.
And centipedes. And
heard a tiger the other day.
Oh yeah, nice little pet tiger.
The cat. Might be the cat.
Oh yeah, probably. You should paint the cat into a tiger.
Well, he's a ginger cat already, so he's like, getting there. Yeah,
tiger cat.
Just needs some black stripes on his back.
Oh, that'd be cute. I mean, I'm not curious.
He'll hate it, but it'll be good for the aesthetic.
As long as it come into Tom's forest house.
Tom's forest house, yeah.
Full of wood and tiger cats.
Full of wood and tiger cats.
Rawr.
Yeah, so
I'll move on. For parents with neurodivergent children, how can they use outdoor experiences to support routines, reduce stress, or meet sensory needs at home, including like sensory integration or co-regulation? Go.
Routines and things, the same routines you have inside, keep them going outside. So leave the garden tidy by 5 minutes before you're going to go back inside. And say, right, we're going to tidy up in 5 minutes. giving them time to say, okay, we're going to tidy up in 5 minutes. They know that things are going to wind down in a minute, so don't start any big things, or you're going to have to finish the game in a minute, so wind it down. And you go 3 minutes, 2 minutes, and then we all collaboratively tidy up and I encourage children to have a look around and think, well, what's not in the right place? Like those pots on the floor, and think, well, where did the pots go? If they don't know, you say, well, have a good look around and think about what might be a sensible place. Where do you think we should put it? So I think routines are good. Again, in the same way, whatever opportunities for learning you have inside should continue outside. Whatever routines you have inside can continue outside. For emotional regulation, again, it's just being outside and having that freedom to just go and wander. We've got these all the trees around the edge of here are pretty much different.
Yeah.
Go and have a look around. And I just remember.
It's still the roots.
Well, yeah, that was something I was going to say. Walk to the park with a bunch of children. You walk past all the, in London, you have all these massive trees along the pavement that are kind of ripping it up.
Oh, yeah.
So we talked about all the roots and said, well, how strong are trees? It was pushing part of the pavement out into the street, and they've clearly had to repave a bunch of it over the roots. And you could see the crack following along the pavement. So we said, well, you can see where the root goes under the ground. And I just said, right, let's check the next tree, see if that one's breaking the ground as well. There's all these opportunities everywhere for talking about nature and for talking about what's around you and having discussion and having getting excited about things.
We're actually on the last question. What one message would you wish for every parent to hear about nature and outdoor learning and why it matters? Not just for the child, but for the whole family.
Well, it benefits everyone, really. I think it's amazing for stress reduction. It's something I'm trying to do more of myself, preaching all this. Get outside, do this. You get in the holes of just going home and sitting about and playing Nintendo Switch or whatever it is, or whatever your vice of choice is. And I think I need to be better at getting out and doing things. And there's always more you can do. And if you're excited about it, then they'll be excited about it. Yeah. Same with anything. If you're really interested in what they're learning about, then they can be enthused about it, even if it's a boring maths thing that you hate. Wow, great, so love it.
Yeah.
Pi, no way.
Pythagoras' theorem in trees.
Oh, I'm sure there's some, is it Fibonacci sequence and all that? I'm sure.
But we could do Fibonacci sequence in eco-schooling.
We could do.
The Fibon, go on. Fibachico.
Cut all this bit out.
Yeah.
Let's make it sound like we just came in with something snappy.
Yeah.
Fibonacci sequence. It just says
Fibonacci. No, that's
Fibonacci.
I don't think that's cool enough. It'd be the fibber leaf, man. Fibness of green and trees and rocks and tiger cats.
Quality content.
This is great. This.
Yeah.
Going through it, I think that's great. I think we've explored what eco-schooling is.
Yeah,
we have spoke about neurodiversity, we spoke about outdoors, and we have given enough information for parents and educators and people to know what it is and to kind of start implementing that. And it's summer now as well, so you've got no excuses.
Yeah,
you can go out for walks, even in the park.
I know I've been a bit rambly, but I think I'm just so
you're into it.
So into it.
But this is your passion.
I know, it's amazing. I was back staying with my parents over the weekend, and my mum and dad's garden there's a pond and there's all this other stuff. There's this they've got a greenhouse at the end and they're growing all these herbs. There's this sage bush that's about that big, and they've had to cut it down and dry all the sage out and use different things. And the street I grew up on, they were in the newspaper for how good at recycling they are. Everything was collected at the end. Anything that wasn't recycled or collected by the recycling was collected in somebody's garden and then taken up to the recycling. You've lived in it. You're like a recycling queen. Recycling queen, that's what they call them.
I think that's probably part and parcel of why you love it so much. Is that it's literally been your life.
I know, and it is easy. It's strange coming into it and realizing that that's not the norm. That's not a normal thing to do. That's a weird thing to do, but kind of like a beneficial thing in some way. And coming in and finding where these gaps in knowledge are. But it's exciting to find out things like finding out the difference between a centipede and a millipede. and looking at them, and it's fun. It's cool.
No, a centipede's got a millipede's got a lot more legs than the centipede, hasn't it?
Centipedes are flat and orange or brown, and their legs are on the side of their body.
Yeah,
and they eat insects.
Yeah,
other insects.
Yeah, with their
millipedes are round and like black, and they have their legs on the bottom.
Yeah,
and they eat dry leaves.
So if there's one thing that you've learnt from today, it's the difference between a millipede and a centipede.
If you take anything away from this,
and also mass, centipede is 100, and milli. Yeah,
millies.
And millies 1,000 because they have, and then they walk like this.
Yeah,
that's
And millipedes are really aggressive.
Yeah,
no, centipedes are,
and they're in the garden as well.
They're in the garden. Look under rocks.
Yeah, right.
But I think it's easy to be enthused about, and I think nature's a beautiful thing, and it's exciting. I don't know, when you're growing a plant yourself and you see the apple seed grow, it's exciting. It's nice to see, even for yourself. They'll love it. You'll like it. No, you'll love it. And it's a nice bonding thing to do with children. I think they'll appreciate it and they'll remember it,
and they'll grow up to be bidding plant people.
I hope so. There's a lot of. I remember doing gardening with my mum and dad when I was little.
Yeah,
it was a lovely thing, and I really remember eating the things you'd grown. There's one time we had this broccoli and it was covered in bugs, and
you washed it.
Yeah, well, we washed it, but it was still covered in bugs, and we had it for dinner, and we all were like, bugs all over the plate. Don't let that put you off, though. Do it anyway. Just wash your broccoli properly.
Wash your broccoli, and wash your vegetables.
Wash your vegetables.
Fun people. Right. Well, this has been me. This has been Tom.
Nice to meet you.
If you want to contact us all, you can reach us on some information, which I'll probably put somewhere in a description somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Peace out.
Listening.
Bye.